Chairman, Board of Supervisors, Prince William County. The man of the hour. He's also the chairman of the Donald Trump for President campaign in Virginia, Corey Stewart. Hey, Corey, good to have you with us.
John, thanks for having me on the show again.
Let me tell our listeners that Corey Stewart is also a prospective candidate for governor in Virginia in 2017, as put out by me, not Corey. So I'm predicting that. That's just my narrative. Corey, I want to get to a couple of things here. You just heard that clip from Trump. We're going to Iowa on the 1st and the 2nd, so we're going to be in Des Moines. We'll be able to bring you the action back. I think he's going to do better in Iowa than people think he is. They just launched a TV ad out there, by the way, along with their radio ads, which, by the way, we carry. Now, talk to us about the Trump Virginia campaign. You're the chairman of it. It looked early on like he'd do very well in the state, but now we've got this pledge that the RPV/RNC put out in order, in my view, to stop Trump. What do you make of this whole thing?
Well, I completely agree with you. The establishment, if you don't want to call them the establishment, the old guard, whoever they are, they don't like Trump. They're fearful of Trump, and they're going to use whatever mechanism, however unfair, to try and stop him. And this is part of that effort. Clearly, I just got back. I traveled out to Minnesota for the holidays, and as I drove across the country, I made a deliberate, attempt to speak to just kind of your average Joe. And there has never been this much excitement by the average guy for a Republican presidential candidate in my lifetime, in my political lifetime. I mean, going back to Reagan. Mm-hmm. And there's no question that a lot of these people, they're going to be first-time voters in a Republican nomination process.
Right.
And what you don't want to do is make that process more confusing than it has to be. We want them into our party. We want to bring them in, and maybe they'll come back. We want them to come back certainly in November on our side. So the party is really shooting in its effort, the establishment's effort to keep Trump supporters out of the nomination process. They're shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to November and successive elections after that.
Well, I tell you what, no one can speak with more authority than getting new voters, minority voters, and otherwise disaffected voters into their Republican fold. Corey Stewart, you're a conservative, and you've been able to carry Prince William County countywide a number of times. Your last reelection this November, you got 57 or 58%. You were running 20 and 23 points ahead of the Republican state Senate candidate, who was a moderate, Hal Parrish, in your county in matching precincts. That's unheard of. Now, obviously, you've had success in going out and getting independents and others to participate in Republican electoral politics and to elect a conservative. Now it seems to me that the establishment, or you call it, I think is a better word, the old guard, led by the RNC, which is now involved in this, putting this pledge out. Look, they had a vote for a convention. It lost. I was in favor of it. It got beat. So now it's like this is like a backdoor effort. These are the same people that tried to keep Donald Trump off the ballot in Virginia by having him personally sign a pledge. That went down when he signed the RNC pledge. Now they're trying this other backdoor effort. I mean, this thing stinks to high heaven.
Well, it really does. And here the thing, I don't know if it's the irony, but it's the hypocrisy, really. I mean, it's the establishment, the old guard, that has always said, look, we don't want pledges. We don't want conventions because we want new voters into our party. Well, that was good for the old guard. That was good for the establishment when new voters meant moderates, liberals, potentially Democrats coming in voting. Well, now that Trump is bringing in people that are new and that the new voters are coming out for Trump, well, all of a sudden the establishment wants this pledge. And so they're trying to have it both ways. And ultimately, I think that attempt is going to fail. And here's the thing. I've been getting lots of emails, and I know you probably have too, but people are upset. They see through it, and some of them have said, look, if I have to sign this pledge, I'm just not going to vote. But when the day comes, when March 1st comes around, I'm going to make this prediction. People are going to be angry with the Republican Party of Virginia, with the establishment, and they're going to come out deliberately and vote for Donald Trump just to stick their fingers in the eye of the establishment, and good for them. I believe that's what's going to happen on March 1st.
Well, I hope that happens because, look, this is just a nefarious attempt to stop people from participating in the process, coupled with the fact that it's not even enforceable. And I tell you the thing that's really bugging me today is that I accused the old guard of the RPV 3 weeks ago of taking their marching orders from the Republican National Committee on this, who we all know wants nothing to do with a Trump candidacy, okay? We all know that. They all said, no, it's got nothing to do with that. State committee, state central, whatever, didn't get the conventions or this kind of backdoor effort. Then I say to them, well, you didn't even meet the rules. You violated the 90-day public notice rule. Therefore, it's got to go. It's not even legal. Then they come back, and here's what they say. Well, the Republican National Committee, the RNC, vetted this and vetted it and vetted it and said we have no problem. They'll overrule it. It's fine. Our Virginia delegation's not going to be affected. Everything is fine. The RNC said it's a green light. All go. Now, here's my point-blank question. Either the Republican National Committee is involved in this or not. You can't have it both ways, right?
Well, that's right. And by the way, it's not the RNC headquarters that's going to make that decision at the Republican National Convention this coming summer. It's going to be the delegates to the convention who would decide whether or not Virginia violated the rules. And so I think your point is a good one, and I think it's possible that we could be disqualified, at least out of the first round of balloting, because of this mess-up. And I think they know it, and I think that this is a potential way for them to negate the outcome of Virginia's primary election, and to try to negate it if Trump wins, and I think that he will. So.
Well, that's it. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, and it is possible that Virginia convention delegates could get to Cleveland and simply be denied their credentials because we violated the rules. I mean, why would you even take that risk? People are going to pay to go out there and go through the process like I am, becoming, my wife and I have become convention delegates for District 4, and then get out there and say, somebody says, well, we broke the rules, and so you're out. Right? I mean, that could affect who the nominee is on the opening ballot, right? How does that? I mean, why would you even take that risk?
Well, I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, I can't imagine why they won't back down on this. The only thing I can tell you is this: this is not John Whitbeck. This is not John Finley. This is not an attempt by some minor party officials, and I don't mean to disparage them in that, saying that, but this is coming up from a higher level. And with all this controversy over this pledge, they would have backed down, except for the fact that you've got very powerful people inside the Republican Party who are pushing this on a national level.
You know, we're with Corey Stewart, campaign chairman, Trump for president, Virginia, also chairman of the Board of Supervisors in Prince William. Corey, I think you're right. You know, sometimes you get on the air with me and you convince me of something. I think you're right. I think you're onto something. This might not be driven by Executive Director John Finley, Chairman John Whitbeck, who is basically hiding behind the State Central Committee. I think you're right. I think this is being driven by the Republican National Committee, who is trying to find a way to stop Trump from being the nominee. And let me tell our listeners where this really plays in. It's not the amount of delegates they may or may not get in Virginia, but in 2012 in Tampa, and we were there live, when Romney's lawyers descended on the Tampa convention, they changed rules over the top of the grassroots, which was aimed at stopping an insurgent conservative from challenging Romney in 2016. And one of the changes, Corey, that they put in is that for a name to be put in nomination, the candidate had to win a majority of delegates in 8 states. Right? This is a brand new rule that's under everybody's radar screen. The Romney lawyers put this in on that Monday in Tampa during the Rules Committee meetings, and they had enough people there to jam that through. Now, what this means is Trump can go to Cleveland with a majority of delegates overwhelmingly, but if he has not won the majority of delegates in 8 states, his name cannot be placed in nomination. How crazy is that? So when you look at Virginia, that's one of the states they thought they were going to win. Now you start to understand why we're not just talking about a handful of delegates. We're talking about the entire nominating process. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And I think that, let's look back. 1988, George H.W. Bush. 92, H.W. Bush. And then 96, Bob Dole. And then, 2000, it's George W. Bush. And then it's McCain. And then it's Romney. These are all establishment candidates. The party has allowed conservatives to control some of the nominations for various governorships and Senate seats and so forth. But for the top job, the party has made damn sure that they have controlled the presidency.
All right, we got to get out. I want to thank Corey Storer for being with us. You want to send a protest, email info@virginia.gop. Always good to have you, Mr. Stewart. Chairman Stewart, we'll have you back. This is the John Fredericks Radio Network. Thank you.